Now we're looking into the form local competitive advantage. Click here to complete the form. You can see already I've confirmed the data. So in terms of that, like all other forms, we have the info there you can complete in terms of, you can read or you can watch videos in terms of the local value proposition. So just maybe to go a little bit in terms of value proposition. Remember, we've done the competition analysis. We have identified who are the competitors in the local environment. We have analyzed their market share. We've analyzed their strengths and weaknesses. So we know them now. So in this form, is for us to identify what is our value proposition. What is our competitive advantage? Because when you're competing, you must have a value proposition that differentiates you from your competitors. So the app has separated the two into local value proposition and national value proposition. So now we're looking at local value proposition. So in terms of local value proposition, we're looking at the competitive advantage that we have with compared to our local competitors. So we're competing with local competitors. Then we need to look at what is their value proposition. We know who they are. We have identified them under competition analysis. We have identified their strength there. We have identified their weaknesses. So in this form, we're basically coming up with the value proposition, the advantage that we're going to make sure that we compete successfully or viably with these local competitors. So generally now you have to click edit because the app will have already populated it for you. Then you have relevant data. It must always be yes, because you need to know your competition. Otherwise, you are taking high risk. In terms of the competition, the most important one is when you're analyzing, you need to know which one is your competitive advantage. So you can only choose one. It's either you have technology advantage, then you provide your organizational status to say, when it comes to technology, where are you? If it's your strongest competitive advantage. If location is your strongest competitive advantage, then you say yes, but then that means this one should be no or neutral. So you can only have one value proposition or one competitive advantage. So on the drop down, if location is yes, then that means the others will either be neutral or will be no. You don't have advantage, or the advantage is neutral. So you might have few competitive advantages, but you need to choose the best competitive advantage or the best value proposition that you have. Is it on technology or that's the first one? Is it on technology? Then if it's on technology, then you need to give the status of your organizational technology. What does it do, that technology that you're saying it's a competitive advantage? And then the sector. What does your sector do in terms of the technology? And then you select what will be your strategy. So if a factor or a competitive advantage is not your top competitive advantage, you always choose neutral or no. So we need to know which one. Is it you don't have? Is it a weakness for you? That's a value proposition or not? So we've identified quite a few of them. The first one is on the technology. You need to decide, is technology your main value proposition? The second one is for location. Is your location your strongest competitive advantage? Is it supply chain processes? Are you efficient more than your competitors locally? Is it differentiation? You are able to differentiate yourself from your competitors? Is it the cost structure? Are you cheaper than your competitors? If you are efficient, do you have a strong brand compared to your competitors? Do you have an existing intellectual property compared to your local competitors? Do you have an existing product and service advantage? You are already existing, people already know you or not. So you need to choose one from there. The one that you say, yes, this is my competitive advantage. Then once you selected that one, then you need to give us what is the status of that advantage. And then you state, in terms of your industry that you're operating from within, what is the status? What are they doing regarding that competitive advantage that you have? And then you decide on your strategy. What strategies you want to implement to continue having that advantage? So the most important one is to provide that information to the competitive advantage that you said yes to. And you can only say yes to one competitive advantage. It must be clear that you can only say yes to one competitive advantage. Others will just indicate if it's neutral or it's a no. Then where it's a neutral or no, you don't have to provide details, but you can provide details on those ones to say it's neutral, and then you analyze the industry where they are. So this competitive advantage, it helps you to look at a broader spectrum of the things that can make you competitive. Then you look at where are you sitting. Are you at the neutral or are you at the advantage? So, as I said, you must only choose one where you are at an advantage. And then the others, you can be neutral, you can be more competitive. But choose one competitive advantage and give us information in terms of where you are. Because it's just a drop down. You just have to choose. If you are neutral on cost structure, then what are you? Are you low cost structure? You have access to input. What makes you neutral? If it's a no, then what is your status? You don't have economic scale, you have inefficient procurement process. So you need to know where you are in terms of each of the items that have been identified that creates competitive advantage. So this item, we pre-identify them, then you just have to select from there. And if you have any other advantage, then that is not listed above, then you can put it here at the bottom to say this is the competitive advantage that you have that the app doesn't have data on. So that's very, very important for you to identify the competitive advantage that are listed here, which the first one, just to repeat, the first one is on the technology. The second one is on location. The third one is on supply chain. The fourth one is on differentiation. The fifth one is on cost structure. Sixth is existing brand advantage. 7, intellectual property. 8 is if you are an existing business that is known within the community or within the market. So those are the areas that you can have competitive advantage on. We try to narrow it down to those mainstream competitive advantages. You choose one where you say this one is a yes, and the others is either you are neutral or you don't have competitive advantage. And underneath, you indicate your organizational status, you indicate your sector. Where is it in terms of the competitive advantage? And then in terms of the strategy that you're going to implement to make sure that you continue to push that competitive strategy. And then otherwise, if you have any other strategy that you believe it gives you competitive advantage, but it's not included on the form, then you can add it at the bottom there. So that's on your competitive advantage, but make sure that the competitive advantage that you choose must be the real competitive advantage, and then you must continuously work on it to continue building that competitive advantage. That is the form, and then you can now you can confirm